Jason Goodman is going to share a scam that stepdaughter was almost a victim to, and while he's sharing that, we want to hear from you. Maybe you're at a gas station. Maybe it was online. Maybe you were trying to buy a new animal or a pet. Happened to my brother. Big time dog scam. There's a scam that has happened to you or almost happened to you, and you caught it at the last second. Let us know. 800-682-1075.
Apparently, scams like these that I'm about to tell you, it's one of them is trending right now, but it's also cost people $100 million in this country a year is people getting scammed out of money. And this one's a pretty sophisticated one. So my stepdaughter, Ruthie, was applying for a job online through LinkedIn, which is a LinkedIn or Indeed. LinkedIn, I think. You know, it's a popular networking kind of site.
Sure, yeah.
And it looks legit. She applies for it. It's a data entry type job. All right. They go through this whole process. She gives them some information like her name and address, whatnot. She finally, after the whole interview process, gets the job. They say to her, okay, for the job, you're going to need this computer. You're going to need this, whatever the equipment is that she needs, this scanner for bills and this and that. And it's, but she's like, I'm not going to pay for this equipment. They said, don't worry. We will overnight you a check and you'll have it tomorrow and you can wait, put the check in the account. When the money's there, you go out and buy the stuff. Here's where they have this package. This is the package you need for at home. And it comes like this desk and everything that you would need for at home. Because right now, those types of at-home jobs have been more popular lately because of COVID, and people really want them, although there's not as many as people think. So she's like, okay. And then she tells my wife, Carol, that she's got this job, basically, and it looks pretty good. It's not overly paid, but it's significantly good for at-home work, right? And I'm looking at it, and my wife goes, "Do you think this is scammy at all?" And I'm like, "Well, what part?" She's like, "Well, they want her to buy this equipment, but they'll overnight her the check and blah blah." And I look and I said, "Yeah, I've heard about these scams before, but I'm not sure how they're operating and what it's all about." So I get all the emails and all the messages back and forth, and I look, and it's a few, I would say it's probably $1,000 worth of equipment. That or more, maybe $1,500 she has to buy.
Okay.
But she's going to wait for the check to come in. So I'm like, I look it up. I can't find the company. I find the company, but it's out of England. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Data entry company out of England. It's just, I said, I'd be very cautious. Do not give them any information at all. Sure enough, the next day, an overnight check comes in the mail through FedEx. Like it was paid for. Overnight, paid for. And basically, it's the check. But the check says $4,750 on it. I take the check out and I look at it, and this check, let me tell you, is the most legit check I've ever seen. I showed Jared. I think I showed you too, kid.
Yeah.
There's
oh
a
my
hologram. There's the background. There's watermarks. I mean, it is absolutely looks like a check. Very, very good, and better than some company checks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it says $4,750 on it, and then I look at the address, and ironically, it's coming from another company that's based out of Virginia Beach, where Ruthie's from, which I'm like, well, that's weird. She's from Virginia Beach. So the address, everything looks really good. But then I said that stuff things up. Obviously, this is not right because I don't think typically a company is gonna want you to pay first. Usually they just buy it on their end. So I looked up the bank. It's Town Bank or something, and there's truly a headquarters in Virginia Beach, the Town Bank. But it's not like a bank that's national. That's it. That's a very crucial part to this. And when I look it up, I look up the company that's on the side, which doesn't match the same company as she applied for, but I thought maybe it's a parent company. And this company is in Virginia Beach. The address is in Virginia Beach. Everything is in Virginia Beach. So, and then I did one more thing. I took the routing number at the bottom and said, what is this bank's routing number? Routing number is at the bottom of the check to the left before the account number. The routing number came up to a different bank. That's a red flag.
Big time.
Every bank has their own particular routing number. Basically, what has happened and what they are trying to do is you take this check and you say, well, I got the money. I'm not going to buy anything before I get the money. You deposit the check into the bank. Since it's Town Bank and there's none around here, you can't walk into Town Bank where they would know right away this is a fraudulent check. So you put it in whatever you have, Bank of America, whatever you have. You put it in. The check clears. The money comes in the account. Oh, I got the money. You go out and buy from their link the equipment. And not only now did you buy from their link, they have your banking information, but you also bought money, like $2,000 worth of equipment or $1,500 of equipment, and you think, oh, I have money left, $1,500 of equipment. Then all of a sudden it gets flagged as fraud, and a week later, the bank empties out that $4,750, plus you're out the $1,000, the $1,500 you spent on. So now you have all these charges and all this stuff, and it's emptied out your entire account, and they have your bank account information.
That is pretty sophisticated.
And
Yes,
it looks
it is.
real. And I mean, they're doing interviews. It's on LinkedIn. I mean, the length that they went to. I also noticed on the FedEx envelope, I said, where's this coming from? And I looked at the address. I looked up the address. And it comes to a house. You know how you can go on to like Google and it shows you the address of the house? It's just some house in Texas.
So
I'm not sure if
crazy.
the house in Texas is like the fraud people or they just picked an address.
And you know what? A lot of times I've learned through different scams, these will be run overseas. Like these people aren't even in America.
Yeah. I if you look at some of the conversation, you can pick up on certain wording that would be odd, the way it's phrased, a little bit odd than the way we would say it.
Is there
That is
anybody
insane
that
to me.
can you report that?
Yes, you can. You record it to the Federal Trade Commission.
Okay.
I want to report it. I said to report it. She's not answering me back to report it. I'm like, other people are going to be scammed. And there's an easy way right on the website you can report it to the Federal.
Okay.
I tried to, but then there's some information they want that I don't have that Ruthie has. So I don't know.
Got it. Wow.
And this is one of millions of scams going on every single day.
I mean, it's a lot of effort to what they did, and it's very sophisticated. And I thought to myself, if they're this sophisticated, just start a real business.
I know.
You're good at it.
Yeah, that's what we said. When you first told us about this, we said the brain power that it took to set it all up, the time, the effort. Just start your own thing.
Yeah,
Right.
and then you're risking going to jail for decades. You know.
Oh, hold on one second. Let's go to Amanda. Amanda, you face the same scam as Ruthie?
I did, actually. So I was on Indeed, and it would come across as a stay-at-home, work-from-home job position for customer service. And so I applied. I went through 3 different interviews with 3 different interviewers. One was on the phone, 2 were through email, and then they sent me back a job offer, and when I called, or they called, I can't remember, they asked me for my checking account numbers and were going to overnight a check into my account. And that was my red flag. I was like, no, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times you got to remember, I mean, when people get jobs with direct deposit, a lot of times your employer says, what is your account information so we can do direct deposit. So it's not uncommon to ask for your account numbers.
Right. And that would have been fine. I wouldn't have thought twice about it, but they wanted to overnight a check into my account for me to buy the equipment. And I was like, no, something's wrong here.
The Federal Trade Commission has red flagged this scam that's out there that's become very popular lately, especially to the vulnerable people from COVID, basically, that are looking for these types of jobs. And they said, no, almost never does a company ever require you to buy something and then they refund you or anything like that. They would just supply it. They would just buy it themselves and send it to you.
Got it.
Yeah, unless it's like one of those multi-level things, but that's different because they're giving you product to sell.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, that's
but that's where it gets a little tricky because you're like, well, is this legit or not? Thank you, Amanda.
And then all that product is yours if you don't sell it, which is awesome.
You got hair care stuff for the rest of your
I
life.
got skincare stuff forever.
Jessica, what scam did you almost fall for?
Well, it was actually my son. My son fell for it. Mind you, he's 11, but he got a link that was like, what would you do if you had $1,000? And he clicked on it, and, they asked for, like, his email, his Cash App, and his password. And, of course, he gave it to them, and they hacked into his email, his Cash App, his Facebook, and now they're acting like him, sending other people, like, what would you do if you had $1,000? So now I'm telling everyone, like, don't accept anything from my son. Like, he's been hacked. Like, that, it's all a fraud. Don't accept anything. But I'm like, if you would have been an adult, like, imagine the mess that, an adult would have had to have fixed if, it would have been them. So He learned a hard lesson that day.
At 11 is don't trust anyone.
And speaking of that, she makes a very good point about the hacking thing. There's instances where they change one letter from an email of somebody that you know.
Yes.
It could be instead of a 0, it's an O, the letter O, and they act like it's your boss or it's your coworker saying, "Hey, pay this bill right now. We need to get this paid right away." And it seems like it's your coworker, and then you're like, "Oh, okay." Especially if you're in finance, and you go pay it, but it was a email that looked like your coworker or your boss, and then you go pay it, and you paid something to, and they got all your account information.
Jason's done that to me before, copying different higher management, like blind copying and saying something like that would make me nervous, and it'd be the owner's name, but change you have to look really close.
Yeah,
Instead of 2 L's, there's 1 L, or however you spell his name, and then I've done it to other people. I was like, oh, that was a good idea.
That's pretty
So I
smart.
did my friends just for fun.
Yeah.
Caitlin, you had a scam you almost fell for?
Yes. So I got a text message from my bank saying, "Did you make a charge for this amount of money from like Best Buy?" And I was like, "No." And so they called me from my bank's phone number. I picked up, talked to somebody. He was like, "All right, we're gonna cancel your card. We're gonna overnight you a new card, but it costs $14.50 to overnight," which is a red flag because my bank doesn't charge that. But I was like, okay, no big deal. And so they were like, "We're going to send you a text message with this 5-digit verification code. Just make sure that you give that to me so we can verify you." Like, okay, no big deal. I get the text message from my bank, and it says, "Please know we will never call you asking for this 5-digit number." Immediate red flag, hung up. Called my bank. My bank was like, "Yeah, we've got you on the other line, supposedly."
Oh,
Wait,
really?
Yes.
What?
I know what's going on.
Yeah.
What?
That is
They doubled my
terrifying.
number. They doubled my number, and they doubled my bank's number. And so they were basically crossing wires, trying to impersonate me. And this, for whatever reason, the bank, they had enough information to be able to convince the bank that it was me.
Oh my gosh.
And all they needed was the 5-digit verification code from me. And I had enough sense to hang up and call the bank. And the bank was like, "Oh, yeah, no, that's a good thing that you called." And the only reason I didn't give them anything is because my bank said, "We will never ask you for this."
Yeah, right.
What happens there is that's very tricky. That code that she's referring to, what they have done, I believe, is they've gone into her, let's say it was Bank of America. I'm just saying these banks. You go you type it in and you hit forgot password, and they want to verify that it's you, so they send a code. So they say, "Hey, they're on the phone with them right now." It's like me, I went into Katie's thing and I said here, and I hit forget password, and all of a sudden I said, "Katie, I'm the bank. When you have that code, give it to me."
Yeah.
If you give me that code, now
You're
I just
in.
got into Bank of America and changed the password.
You're in.
Yep, and then you're locked out.
It
with your
happens
own
a lot
stuff.
with, watch out with Facebook
Yes.
Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace has so many scams on that. They'll say, "I just want to make sure it's a real you. I want to make sure it's a real user. It's a real buyer. I want to be confident. Send me the code that I sent you so I can verify it." No, they just basically hit forget password, and they're getting the code so they can change your password to hack in.
Yeah, I was on. I'm trying to sell this stackable washer and dryer on Facebook Marketplace.
I've
and
offered you money, but go ahead.
yeah, you offered me, I think, a tenth of what I was asking for. That's okay.
Did you sell
That's
it yet?
fine.
No, not yet.
I didn't think so.
But I don't have to
That's
sell
fine,
it.
yeah,
I don't
just
have.
hold out.
I don't have to sell it. So I would like to. So I can wait on it. If I was desperate, I'd be like, "Oh, well,
I'll take whatever.
And some guy was like, "Is this still available?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "I'm interested." And right away, I went to his profile, and it's some guy from New York. We don't have any mutual friends. And I go, "Oh, what city do you live in?" He goes, "I'm local."
Oh.
And I go, "What local city?" And then he blocked me, or he deleted
that
his
happens
messages
on
'cause he-
Facebook Marketplace.
Yes.
Yes, that happens all the time. In fact, I almost got scammed once too. You have this. It's like I'm getting rid of everything. I'm moving, and they take all these pictures of these really cool things, but not overly cool. You'll see like a crappy thing you would never buy, so it makes it look. But then they have one thing that looks really good for the price, and then they'll say, "Okay, if you want it, just I need you." Hold it. I'll hold it for $100. And then if you give them information, they've got your account and all this other stuff and blah,
That's
blah, blah.
awful.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Samantha. Samantha, tell us about the time you got scammed.
Hi there. So it wasn't actually me that got scammed. I used to work at a popular big box retailer, and I got called to my service desk. One of my team members said, "Hey, there's this guy. He's getting scammed." So I go up there, and he was trying to buy $2,000 in Apple iTunes gift cards.
Oh.
And he showed me the text messages. He'd gotten a text that if he gave someone, I think it was $12,000 in Apple gift cards, they would give him his $2 million inheritance from Germany.
Oh, my
That's obvious.
gosh.
Of course. You get an Applebee's gift card and you get $2 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had an envelope thick with cash.
Oh.
So I know he'd just gone and gotten like a payday loan or something.
No, poor
And
guy.
he was going from store to store.
Did you
And I was
prevent
like,
him?
sir, like, this is a scam. Well, I did. I hope I did. So I was trying to say, hey, it's a scam. And he wouldn't say a word to me. He just kept shaking his head. Like, the poor guy was terrified. And so I kept telling him, hey, it's a scam. You know, this is why I got called up here. We want to prevent this because it happens, like you guys say, all the time. Don't listen to anybody. And I'm like, you know, the police, because we interact with the police a lot, they have units that help with this, like scams. And I was like, I can call them. They can come help you. And as soon as I said the police, he started yelling at me. And I said, you know, we just want to help. And he left the building. He didn't buy the gift cards from us. So I hope if he went to another retailer, they prevented him.
Yeah.
Well, if he yelled
hope
at you,
so.
then maybe
Yeah.
he deserves to be scammed at that
Yeah.
When
point.
you think
Yeah.
that, you know,
Thank you,
older
Samantha.
people, elderly
Yep.
people that are getting
Uh-huh.
scammed left and right.
Yep.
Number
it's
one
really
targets
sad.
are elderly people or people in radio because we're desperate for
Well,
money.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
I
just
think
me.
We're all getting like $3 trillion from the Saudi prince.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
like in
Yeah,
our
we
emails.
had an
He's so
employee
nice.
here
I
that
remember.
fell for it. Got it, but that was when it first started. They got
Yes.
an email saying, "Hey, your inheritance is here. We need to get your bank account information to put the money in," and he gave it to him and he got wiped out.
Awful.
And that was an
Ah.
employee here at this
Yep.
company
Do I know?
a while back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of reminds you of Hugs a little bit, I would think.
Really?
A little bit,
Oh.
like the same type of mentality.
Okay.
Tell me off the air because I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Now I'm a little more confused.
Pretty sure he had this job on another show.
Yes.
Oh, I got you. All right, Kaylin, tell us about the time you got scammed. What happened?
So this was actually like super recent. My boyfriend, we've been together for a long time. We lived together. We just had a second baby, and he started getting text messages saying that he had requested services or received services and that he didn't pay. They started sending personal information like his full name, his date of birth, like his address. Some of the messages got into like how they were going to kill him and us and
Oh
his
my
family. Sending pictures of him to himself. Yeah, it was really it freaked him out enough to where he went to the sheriff's department and was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I just want to let you guys know." He changed his phone number and everything.
Oh, that's,
That's so
terrifying.
scary.
You started threatening your family. Like, who is this? Thank you
Ugh.
very much. Wanda, tell us about the time you got scammed. Oh, we lost her. Okay.
Oh.
I mean, she's still alive. We just lost her on the
Well,
phone.
yeah. Oh.
Jessica, tell us about the time you got scammed.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Hi. Yes. It was actually just yesterday. So that's why when I heard you talking about it, I was like, well, let me give it a shot and call in. But they're a legitimate company. So I feel so bad. It's called Bug Out, but we've never used their pest control services. And they were like, you have an outstanding balance. And so then I started researching and like asking her more questions. She couldn't even pull up my home address. And I'm like, well, if you did pest control at my house, you know. And then I got my husband and he looked up the number and we found like all these alerts that it was tied to a scam. So I guess that's what's so sad is these companies too that are trying to make legitimate businesses, they just get, you know, jacked up by all these scammers. And then we got a letter from them too, like a week and a half ago. That's why I recognized the name yesterday. And the letter wasn't like very professional looking. But anyway, so Bug Out is a legitimate company, but watch out because I think that they got some stuff happening.
Well, and I bet you
That sucks.
That's so unfortunate because the scammers think, well, what are the odds? Like, we're going to find someone who uses the company. You know, if you
Yeah.
send out all the things and all the messages,
Yep.
like it's going to hit somewhere.
Yeah, and then a
Man.
legit company.
And
gets-
we have two kids at home. I'm busy. I'm kind of like, you know, let's go. And so I'm glad I kind of slowed down. But the person that called in earlier about the Indeed thing, I happen to be a corporate recruiter. It is very rare you're going to do an email interview.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was
The
a red
lady
flag.
said she had two interviews over email. get off there when you see that, because that's probably not legit. Anyway, thank y'all for listening.
Yeah,
yes, thank
I want
you
to ask
for
you
the
real quick
advice.
about a recruiter question. Is it unusual? It's happened to me recently. Somebody wanted to go over my banking information. They said I had to be nude on a Zoom call. Is that normal?
Did you do it?
I did
Yeah.
it because I didn't want.
No, I personally love to have my candidates nude when I'm talking to
Sure,
them.
yeah. They can't hide anything. Gotcha.
But
Okay.
that's not standard. That's not standard.
Okay, I felt kind of special.
Yeah.
Then I gave my pen.
Maybe
because
it
I'm-
was her.
It might have been.
Hey, reconnected. So great.